poses risks to peace and security by fueling conflicts over resources and displacing communities. Somebody will ask, how does ecological issues impact peace and security? It does so by contributing, first of all, to what we call resource competition, where there's deforestation, illegal mining, which we work on leading to loss of productive lands, increasing competition for scarce resources like water and fertile soils, and this can trigger issues such as community conflicts and farmer-herder conflicts. Secondly, it contributes by displacement and migration, where environmental degradation can make a place uninhabitable, forcing people to migrate to urban centers, leading to increased pressure on urban resources and infrastructure, and potentially contributing to social unrest. Thirdly, ecological issues contribute to peace and security by causing flooding and infrastructure damage. Here we mean deforestation, particularly of hillsides, which increases erosion and the frequency of floods, destroying homes and infrastructure, and disrupting economic activities. Again, ecological issues can increase what we call violence. Environmental degradation and resource scarcity are linked to increased violence, tensions between civilians and security personnel, and sometimes these persons are armed. And again, ecological crisis acts as a threat multiplier, worsening existing governance issues, corruption, and economic exclusion, which are already latent conflict drivers. Now, the current situation in terms of environment and conflicts, in Ghana currently, more than internal conflicts exist, and include, citing just a few, Kokumba and Adoka conflicts, which is an ethnic conflict over land ownership. Now we also have the Boko conflict, which is about chieftaincy, and also an ethnic dispute between the Kusasi and the Mapuzi communities. And then the chieftaincy disputes also are prevalent. I think, for example, in the Papua there is some legitimacy over the one who is supposed to be the chief. There are other things you can say. And today in Ghana, however, the major concern has been with the environment. And to precisely, which is popularly known as the Galamsey, illegal mining. There has been so much talk about this. However, the fight against Galamsey seems to have been already lost. So much has been spent on it, including the loss of precious human lives. We cannot forget when recently we lost the lives of very important personalities of this current government in a tragic helicopter crash. We remember Dr. Obama, who was the Minister for Defense, and all the others who died in that tragic helicopter crash. Recently, on Saturday, November 8th, during a dinner at the 29th Ghana Journalists Association Awards, which was held at the Manchia Palace in Kumasi, the delivered a powerful speech and all reservedly condemned illegal mining, accusing political leaders of inaction driven by electoral considerations, and challenged traditional leaders to step up the resolve to end illegal mining in Ghana. He revealed the devastating impact of Galamsey, particularly in traditional areas, citing Adansia and other communities whose lands and vital water bodies are being destroyed, which could eventually lead to the destruction of this country. He questioned why successive governments and political leaders have failed to take decisive action against illegal mining, suggesting that the political calculation and the pursuit of votes have prevented the needed bold steps. He stated that the lack of seriousness and the failure in taking a decisive action against the miners has landed us where we are today. For the 2-4, as already mentioned, this is because of the votes political leaders and political parties want from the electorate. He, however, admonished the politicians that if the electorate would refuse to vote for them, they needn't worry, because for the people, they'll be voting for the environment and they will be voting for our health. The President, His Excellency John Mahama, who was also at the GJA Awards, turned his attention to the environmental challenges and described illegal mining as a national threat and confessed that it has endangered Ghana's waters, the forests, and the communities. The role of the church. Suddenly, brothers and sisters in the Lord, these threats have turned into attacks, and PCG condemns such as in the most recent attack on the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, the NIMOS. This is a coward assault on the activity of the state and must not simply be overlooked, as perpetrators must be brought to book. Again, the communities that allegedly attacked and got some journalists injured in an accident in the Ashanti region, while accompanying EPA officials who were fighting illegal mining, must also be investigated, and the perpetrators must be brought to book. The church has over the years been involved seriously with matters of the society and environment at large through the departments of the ESR and the DSS. It is for such things as this national threat that the ESR department organizes this workshop. The church has a mandate to promote peace and development in our nation, and it is therefore timely as we look at the environment vis-a-vis our peace and security in Ghana. For now, it may seem things are all right, but we must not wait and allow things to escalate into chaos before acting. We must work to enforce our church's prophetic role in promoting peace and security of Ghana as we continue to support all lawful efforts aimed at eradicating galamsey and promoting responsible mining practices. Our peace and security must not be taken for granted, especially as we now see conflicts arising not only in Ghana, but in other parts of our continent, Africa. We have Tanzania. I never heard conflict in Tanzania until recently. Cameroon is also facing some challenges. We have South Sudan, the ongoing civil wars in South Sudan. And these are all driven by corruption, ethnic, religious tensions, competition over resources, poverty, among others. And the church cannot keep quiet and look on in the face of the risks elucidated earlier on. We must engage in peacekeeping efforts through various models, including provision of humanitarian aid, policy advocacy, and community programs that promote justice, including climate justice, reconciliation, and unity. Our education must continue with programs in the congregations, using the pulpit, schools, and communities to instill values and honesty, among others. The church must facilitate mediation and dialogue meetings geared towards dispute resolution. Community engagement must seek to organize seminars, cultural activities to mitigate tension and promote unity, where dialogue is sought to foster understanding and cooperation. To conclude, we face an accelerating global ecological crisis, and there are already significant signs to show the heat wave, the droughts that we register in various parts of our world. This imminent crisis and the developing trend cannot just be overlooked without concern. And I therefore invite you all to participate wholeheartedly with all the seriousness that it deserves, trusting that this workshop will not be another talk shop, but that we'll be able to come out, develop strategies, outline pragmatic steps for the Presbyterian Church of Ghana to contribute towards peace-building initiatives and the security of our communities and nation as a whole, thereby fulfilling her prophetic role. The ESR department must continue to be the ear, the eyes, and mouth of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana. The church must not only be seen as a community, but should model the peace of Christ and provide a model of unity and reconciliation in a broken and divided world. On behalf of the Clerk of the General Assembly of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana, the Reverend Dr. Godwin Ninoy Odonko, I welcome you all to this workshop and officially launch the second Peace Project Workshop for Presbytery Directors and Youth in Peace Initiative Projects Coordinators. And I declare it open in the name of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. Amen.
You can do better. That is the official opening or launch of the 2025 second ESR Directors and Youth in Peace Initiative Project Coordinators Workshop. A brief but thought-provoking and comprehensive address from our own director, who also acts as the acting clerk. Let us show appreciation with once again applaud. As it is normally done, I will give room for one or two questions. So if you have a question to ask, you just raise up your hand. I'll give you a number. Official opening, only 2 questions, because the next speaker is around. One or two questions. Any question? Or you don't want to ask the acting? No questions? So, Papa, thank you so much for the delivery. It is our prayer that we'll act on it. We are not here for only showcasing, but we'll go and do what you've asked us to do. On this note, my role as a moderator for the opening has come to an end. Thank you so much for your cooperation.
Thank you for moderating this session for us to begin the workshop. This session will be chaired, the next session has to be moderated actually by Reverend Frederick Apa Afre. So I want to invite him to take his chair. So we'll take the first, which is the keynote address, actually.
You are ready? All right, so we can. So we'll not waste time. Let me hand over to the moderator.
Thank you, Papa Director. I'll call on our brother Bismarck to do us the honor to introduce our speaker for the first lecture.
Papa Moderator, thank you very much for the opportunity. Good morning once again. For this morning's keynote address, we have our brother George Mate Okole with us. He's a Christian care officer for Arocha, Ghana. Those of us who follow a lot of the ecological news, you realize that Arocha, Ghana is a very significant part as a civil society organization that does a lot of advocacy in Ghana and across the African sub-region. And so our brother George is here to deliver on the theme, Ecological Injustice, a Threat to Peace and Security in Ghana. So please, let's welcome our brother George.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. The representative of the moderator and the representative of the clerk of the General Assembly, Mr. Chairman, Reverend Ministers, Youth Coordinators, all protocol duly observed. I'm grateful for the honor done me to be given or delivering the keynote address for this very august occasion. I should mention that not for the fear of wearing coats, I would probably have been a Presbyterian minister. As I see one of my colleagues while we were in Trinity here, but I decided to go through the civil society space so that we can be working from that direction. But I'm not lost. I'll come home. I'll come home. I'll come home. I'm coming home. Right. So, just by way of introducing Arocha Ghana to us, as our brother said, Arocha Ghana is a civil society organization, but we are Christian first of all. And what we seek to do is to mobilize everyone to care for God's creation, everyone, everywhere. And we work in many countries globally. But here in Ghana, we are working in three main areas: in the northern landscape, with an office in Damongo; in the mid-Ghana landscape, with an office in Bosomtwe; and then in the eastern southern landscape, with an office in Chebi. Our theme, ecological injustice, a time bomb against the peace and security of Ghana. When we speak of ecological injustice, we are discussing many problems that bedevil our country, and chief among them would be the issue of galamsey. Now, while galamsey remains one of the most visible wounds on our national conscience, the broader picture is far more complex. It's pervasive and systemic. Now, in 2022, a number of organizations came together to start looking at how to organize a national Christian care conference to try to mobilize the Ghanaian churches together to look at what we can do to salvage the very rapidly degrading landscape, environment, climate that we have. And I should say that Madam Teko Saba and her team were ably represented there. I do not see her here yet, but we are grateful that the Presbyterian Church was well represented in that forum. Now, in that forum, a lot of things happened, and one of the things that we looked at was to list the number of environmental climatic challenges that we have in Ghana, and you'll be amazed at how many of them some of us would have been barely culpable of. And probably when we go further, we'll see what we will do about them. Now, across our country, the signs of ecological injustice are everywhere. From the polluted rivers and air-choked cities in Accra and Kumasi, and the dry farmlands and all the challenges we have with our heat-stressed coastal communities. Mr. Chairman, last year, one of the challenges that Ghana had was dry spells, all the way from the northern belt to the middle belt, which challenged production of food, which challenged agricultural well-being and sustainability, which means that people that depend on agricultural produce or farming in any form are going to be challenged. When they are challenged, their families are challenged, communities are challenged. And our members are part of these communities. So it becomes a challenge for the church as well. Now, the degradation of our environment is not simply a scientific or policy failure issue, even though that seems to be quite pivotal. But it is also a moral and a theological crisis that exposes our broken relationships with both God and creation. Ecological injustice occurs when the benefits and burdens of environmental resources are unequally shared, and when the poor and powerless bear the consequences of the ecological injustice that they did not cause. Africa suffers the issues and the challenges of climate change, the greatest, even though we contribute to less than 5% of the challenges that climate change brings to us. Now, it is when the unborn and denied a livable space, the poor are denied their livelihood, the powerless are denied their ability to thrive in places and communities where God put them, is when we see ecological injustice being the greatest. And most of this is as a result of greed. It is when the land, just as the psalmist would have told us in Psalm 24 verse 1, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the worlds and they that dwell therein. When this land suffers exploitation, unregulated, unmitigated, unguided, that ecological injustice becomes a challenge. And this becomes a challenge because it is treated as a commodity to be consumed rather than a covenant to be kept. Now in Ghana, ecological injustice shows up in many ways, and permit me to outline a few for us. One of them is the massive deforestation that strips our landscapes and endangers biodiversity. Yesterday, I was in a forum to launch a book for children on endangered species, and we are told that the pangolin, which is one of the, in fact, it is the most trafficked animal the whole wide world. In Ghana, it is great. When you go to the Tiwa landscape, people are using it for all kinds of things. But the challenge is this: if in our generation we end and take out all this biodiversity, what will our children come to see? What will generations come to see? They would only see pictures of certain animals that used to exist, but are no more. But if you cast your minds back, you'd realize that even when God had to visit judgment on the earth, and it was going to affect biodiversity, there was an instruction to Noah to make sure that animals are brought into the ark in pairs so that they can continue to have them even after the flood. God cares about environment. He cares about our earth. Plastic pollution that clogs our drains, floods our cities, and poisons marine life. Scientists tell us that by 2050, if nothing is done, the way plastic pollution is happening around us, there will be more plastics in the oceans than there would be fish. And that's a big challenge. For those of us who probably minister along the coastal towns, if you interact with fishermen, they tell you that these days, when they go fishing, they don't only catch fish, they catch plastic bottles. And that is a big problem for us. Hazardous air pollution that hangs over Accra and Kumasi, dangerous. 3 weeks ago, I was granting an interview to Paint TV, and it was as a result of a research done last year. About 12,000 cases of death happened, all because of air pollution in Ghana last year alone. That's a big challenge. Recurrent floods that destroy homes in the south and droughts that parch lands in the north. The widening gap between those who profit from the resource extraction and those who suffer its consequences. Farmers that are displaced from their ancestral homes. Women walking long distances for clean water. And young people forced into precarious jobs because their environment can no longer sustain them. All these are issues that border on ecological injustice. Now, the problem is not only environmental, as I would probably show in a few minutes, but it is social, it is economic, and it is spiritual. When creation is violated, the peace of society collapses. When the river dies, the village follows suit. Because every community, every village you find will be close to a river or a water body. And so as it dries out, people would have to be forced to relocate. When we pollute the air and soil, we poison not only our bodies but our souls. And this is because ecological justice is something that we have come to realize as part of our normal lives. This is why it is not merely an environmental issue, but it is a theological disorder. It's a sin against the Creator, whose command to humanity in Genesis 2:15 is for man to till the land and to keep it. To till it and to keep it, not to exploit. It will interest you to know that in a few of the conferences that we've held, in interacting with faith leaders, I'm sure the Presbyterian faith leaders are not part of those who think that way. But some of the faith leaders will tell you that, well, the Bible says that heaven and earth is passing away soon, and Jesus will come and get us to go live in heaven. And so why should we bother trying to keep the earth if it will be destroyed anyways? And that is how some preachers think. Imagine these people. Of course, it's not just imagine. They have influence over their congregations. So how do you think their congregations are going to keep the earth? So as we gather under the theme, ecological injustice, a time bomb against the peace and the security of Ghana, we must recognize that the degradation of the environment is both a symptom and a driver of conflict. Around the world, scholars and policymakers are connecting environmental breakdown to social instability and violence. Soon we will come to look at a few of them. In Ghana, we have seen tensions over land. Here in Accra, there are tensions over land. People get killed. People get maimed. People lose their life savings just to acquire a portion of land. That is environmental, but that is also economic, and that is security. In the north, there are some tribal conflicts that are linked to just a parcel of land, a portion, just a border. And people keep fighting and killing each other because of the crave for land and things like that. People are getting desperate because they need to survive. Because the resources are getting scarce and scarce. And if any man has to survive, then the person has to do anything to survive. And so the survivor of the fittest syndrome sets in. Do what you have to do in order to survive. Abraham Maslow told us in his theory that for every human being, there are 5 needs. And the basic of them, the foundational one, is physiological need. Food, water. That is basic. And so any situation, any condition that will threaten this is a situation that will threaten peace and will cause conflict to linger on. Ghana at this point stands at a crossroads. The latest climate and development report warned that rising temperatures, and I should say that September 2024 is the hottest month on record since temperatures started getting recorded in history. Currently, the world's climate, the temperature is increasing around 1.5 degrees Celsius. Scientists tell us that if we don't do anything much about it, and it goes further, some portions of the earth will be unlivable. That means that people will be forced to migrate. And with migration comes many other challenges. So you see, ecological injustice is not just something for the environmentalists, but for all of us, including those of us who are theologians. In the midst of all this warning lies a call to repentance, to stewardship, and to restoration. As already quoted in Psalm 24 verse 1, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. Throughout the Genesis account, Genesis chapter 1, after everything God creates, the Bible would say that the Lord would say that it was good. It was good. He created the land, it was good. The skies, it was good. The plants, it was good. So why would human greed continue to deplete, exploit, break down the things that God said it was good? Now, the reason why God will finish every other creation before he creates man is because he needs that man will need all those other things in order to live and to be able to sustain the agenda for which God created man. So if we break down everything, then we are challenging God's wisdom in putting everything together for us. There are a number of relationships that are broken. The first one would have been the relationship between God and man as a result of sin. And the result of that is when God will now say that man has to toil and labor to till the ground. And the ground is now going to produce thorns and thistles. So God gives a gift to man, which is all of creation. But sin grieves not just God, but it grieves creation as well. For which cause later on in Romans, Paul will write that the whole of creation groans, awaiting the manifestation of the sons of God. Because when the sons of God begin to manifest, then creation will be redeemed. That gives us an idea of how important God sees our environment, creation, climate, and why ecological injustice is a theological issue as well. As I've said, throughout creation, we see God show how important the environment and climate is for us, because it holds everything together. When you read the Psalms, you see how the psalmist celebrates rivers and mountains and all trees, because they clap, they shout, they sing the praises of God. Now, if we are clearing all of them to burn charcoal, if we are tilling, degrading the land in the quest to mine gold, even in river bodies, the way we are doing now, sometime to come, there will not be trees in Ghana to clap for joy, and there will not be any rivers to praise God, because we would have degraded all of them. The biblical witness is clear that God's plan of salvation includes creation, not its destruction. Which means that any theology that ignores ecological degradation is incomplete. And any church that prays for the peace, but neglects the environmental issues, prays in vain. Because beyond prayer, there are practical steps that God expects us, because of knowledge that abounds in Scripture, to be able to take, so that we can salvage the situation that we are in now. Our moral and spiritual duty is therefore urgent, so that we'll be able to slow down the rate at which these challenges bedevil us. God's covenant with man in Genesis 1:26 to 28. And I quote, "And God said, let us create man in our own image and unto our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over every beast that creeps upon the face of the earth." 27. "In the image of God created him, male and female created he them, and gave them dominion." Then in 28, the Bible says, "And God blessed them and said, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish or fill the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over it." And way down in Genesis chapter 1, the Bible will say that God gave the trees as food for man. And that shows us the covenant that God had in mind. Ecological injustice, therefore, is a breach of the covenant that God had with mankind. And it's about time that we expose it, we name it, we confront it, not only with policy and science, but with faith and collective repentance and courage. Research shows that 85% of everyone living on earth is a person of faith. And majority of the faith traditions have deeply embedded in them the reverence for nature. Think with me for a moment. When all our river bodies are polluted, the way we are seeing them now, and Ghana Water and Sewerage is unable to treat them because they've been complaining about that for some time now. And you go to preach in a community, you run a crusade for those of us who are ordained ministers, and many people give their lives to Christ, and you have to baptize, and there is no water. How do we go about it? It's something that we need to think about. Now, from a biblical perspective, ecological injustice is not merely environmental, like we've said, but it is also theological. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. In Leviticus 25, God gives very copious, detailed commands of how to give the land rest, how to use certain things so that the land will be able to regain its nutritional value again. Paul, I've already mentioned, shows us how creation suffered along with us when we fell, and how it groans awaiting our manifestation as children of God. In Revelation chapter 22, verses 1 to 3, John gives us a very vivid picture of a throne of God and a river flowing from it, which is pure. I'm sure that John would see our days and would mention that that river is pure, clear as crystal. And then there are trees growing on each side of this river, producing different kinds of fruits every month for the healing of the nations. And the Bible says that all these things will be because God will remove every curse. and there will be a perfect world. So from Genesis, when God begins time for man, it starts with an environmental picture of it is good, it is good, it is good. And this is because in Genesis 1:2, the Bible says the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And God says, no, this is not how I want life to be. So let me recreate the earth. He's ending in Revelations with another picture of a recreated earth with pure rivers, trees growing, and everything in sync. That shows us how important God takes our environment. For which cause, if we do not do what we have to do as people of faith to champion the preservation and the conservation of the things that God has given us, then the peace that we enjoy will be threatened. In the face of all these challenges, there are rays of hope. Across Ghana and many parts of Africa and the world at large, churches, faith-based organizations, youth movements, civil society organizations are waking up to this sacred responsibility of creation care. The Spirit of God has been stirring hearts, and new partnerships are emerging between theology and science and civic life. The Christian community is beginning to reclaim its role as a moral compass and a prophetic voice for the environment. Permit me to list a few things that have happened in the recent past to just help us to see how well we are doing. It is not all gloomy. We are doing something. Arisha, as part of a wider Arisha International family, has been privileged to journey alongside churches, faith networks, and civil society organizations in advancing ecological justice. As I mentioned, in 2022, a partnership was born between Arisha Ghana, the Challenge Enterprises of Ghana, the Akrofi Christola Institute of Theology, Mission and Culture, which is our own institution, World Vision Ghana, and a good number of churches to come together to begin reflecting on what the church can do as far as the environment and climate are concerned. As a result of these conversations that began in 2022, this year, the first National Creation Care Framework for Churches was published and launched, which is a landmark collaborative initiative among the Christian bodies and denominations on issues of ecological responsibility. Now, this framework seeks to guide churches to develop theological teaching, governance structures, and community actions that integrate environmental care into discipleship, mission, and advocacy. Complementing this is the sermon guide on creation care that was developed by World Vision Ghana, a 21 sermon guide, which has replica sermons or model sermons on stewardship, climate action, and environmental ethics. Arisha Ghana has a curriculum for engaging students, schools, with creation care, environmental care. And we are currently at the verge of completing our 24 series Bible studies on creation care as well. Similarly, creation care has been something that I know the Presbyterian Church of Ghana has been very instrumental in. Arisha International and Arisha Ghana, in collaboration with the Akrofi Christola Institute of Theology, Mission and Culture, runs a certificate program every year. And I'm glad to say that it is completely free. Arisha Ghana bears the cost for it. And just yesterday, the class for 2024 graduated. And I will throw an invitation to ministers here and our congregants, Mr. Chair, to everyone who is interested to begin to register for it next year. It is both, it starts with a basic, an intermediate, and an advanced level. Each of them runs for 1 week, and it is fully virtual. So you can be anywhere. I know some people are saying, okay, I'm in the Northern Presbytery, I cannot come. No, it is virtual. You just have to set aside 1 week, and every evening from 5:30 to 8:30, you join a class with reading materials, and then before long, you are someone with a great knowledge in creation care, and it will help all of us. So we do that with Akrofi Christola, and it is ably led by the Reverend Professor Ebenezer Blasu, who is a minister at Sope. Last year, again, it is instrumental to mention that the Catholic Church did a lot when it comes to challenging and speaking truth to power. So for those of us who are aware, they staged a march in the streets of Accra to protest the rampant dissipation and wastage of our resources, including Galamsey, which was the core of it. They did a prayer walk in town to let the government know that there is a policy issue, there is an enforcement issue, but the church also has a moral and a spiritual mandate to guide how civic life is lived. They didn't end there. They also held a press conference and informed their membership that any member of their church who is involved in Galamsey would go through a series of disciplinary actions. First one, warning. 2, open reprimand. And 3, complete excommunication from the church. And that's how serious they take the threat to our environment. I pray and I hope that even if PCG will not do the same, we will also push and have a stronger voice when it comes to what happens in the environment. I also want to mention and commend all of us as a church, because in 2023 we established, and if I say we, I'm saying we because I'm a Presbyterian, so I connect with all of us. We established a plastic recycling facility that is not only just helping to clear the surface of the earth with all this plastic waste, but also giving employment to our young people. And that is one of the things that we need to commend ourselves for. Now, these developments represent not just institutional or church programs, but they signify a spiritual reformation, a rediscovery of God's purpose for the earth and humanity's role as stewards, to which all of us have been called to do. Now, as a church, I know that we do a lot in the area of agriculture, in the area of vocation, and it is only a call for us to do more. We need to do more because we are trusted people in the communities. We are gatekeepers. We are voices that people listen to, and as ministers and coordinators, we are people of influence. What that means is that if we take decisive public actions, they will inure to greater good, because many people will imitate us and do same. Let me cite one example. Last year, we did a program in mid-Ghana in the, what do we call it, around the Drobonsu area. And one Pentecost pastor attended. It was on how to keep our environment. Now, he mentions that in their community there is filth. It's not just at areas. The whole community is very filthy. And when he checked and asked, when he got there, they told him that the gods of the land forbid cleaning or sweeping here in Ghana. And so everywhere was dirty. But after he came for this event, he realized that God would want us to care for our environment. So he went to tell the chief that these things are not really a big problem. The chief says, no, if you try it, you will die. Anybody that tries it will die. People have tried it, they've died. So you cannot do it. But if you want to do it, you are on your own. So he went to announce to the church that on a particular day, all of them are going out to do general cleaning in their community. And everybody seemed to be excited. But on the fateful day, nobody showed up. It was too early to die. So he went with his wife. And they did what they could. The next morning, he says he was surprised to have a lot of people coming to knock on their door. Just like the king would do to Daniel. The God whom you serve, has he been able to save you? They were not really hoping to hear a response. But thanks be to God. He responded and said, we are well and fine. So they set out another date. And this time around, a few members of the church attended. But the third time, the chief had mobilized everybody to come together for them to clean that community. One pastor had faith in God, but it was faith that was accompanied by works. And results began to show. Today, it is a very clean community. Another challenge they had was that they didn't have any place of convenience because, again, the gods didn't want that. But he mobilized them to start building local level KVIPs. And today when you go to that community, there have been changes. And these are things that we can do. And so with just this example, I come to the point where I would ask all of us, what must we do? And I would want to outline a few things that we can do to be able to address ecological injustice. The first of them would be a theological reawakening. A theological reawakening. Now the church must reclaim its prophetic mandate to speak truth to power and to form consciences and shaped by scripture rather than convenience. Every pastor here, every catechist in our congregations, every Christian educator should teach that creation care is not a new doctrine but an ancient one, woven through Genesis all the way to Revelation. The Gospels, the Psalms, every one of them has something to say about our environment. Seminaries and Bible schools must mainstream ecological theology in their curricula, helping ministers to interpret environmental issues through the lens of faith, justice, and hope. One pastor was posted to the north, and there was a lot of diseases in the community, communicable diseases, diarrhea, and the rest. And they said it was the gods because people had not done what they were supposed to do, sacrifice well. But that pastor had a science background. And so he began to take notice that people were drinking from a very polluted source of water. And that was the challenge. And so he began by first teaching his congregants how to clean or purify their water. And their congregants, his congregants, started becoming free from those illnesses. And sooner than later, they realized that it was not God's, actually. It was purely unclean and unsafe water that we're consuming. I'm not sure what the curriculum is today, but when we were in Trinity, I'm not sure that there was anything that was strongly bordered on our environment. But these are some of the things that we could begin to look at. Probably not as a full course, but as one of the centers that we can begin to have conversations around, because it is something that affects everyone. Policy and advocacy engagement. Faith-based institutions like our church must strengthen the advocacy on environmental governance. This is because ecological justice thrives where corruption, weak enforcement, and policy inconsistency prevails. The church, with its nationwide reach, must advocate for fair and transparent resource management, climate adaptation funding for vulnerable communities, and responsible waste and energy policies. And we must urge government to align national development plans with ecological sustainability and intergenerational equity. And these are things that we can do. The third thing we can do is to mobilize and empower our youth. When I was a child, I was told that the youth are the future of the nation. But that mantra has changed. They are the present force for change. In many nations, in Africa, in Asia, and other parts of the world, youth movements, activism, and things like that have been able to change and topple governments. And so it is about time that we empower our youth to be eco-disciples, peace builders, leading up campaigns such as tree planting initiatives, environmental awareness drives within schools and communities. And this can actually become a source of income when they do it on a large scale. Beyond volunteerism, we need to also nurture green entrepreneurship, empowering our youth in environmental, sustainable agriculture, waste recycling, renewable energy, and eco-innovation. And one of the reasons why we didn't like to become farmers as children was that weeding and things that had to happen on the farm was seen as punishment. And these are narratives that we can begin to change, at least in the Presby schools. These are narratives that we can begin to change. Church and congregational action. Every congregation should become a living model of ecological discipleship. How can we do this? Churches can audit their energy use, manage waste responsibly, harvest rainwater, and plant trees around their compounds. One of the programs that Arocha does with churches is what we call the Eco Church. What we do is that we come, once you agree, we come to your church, we help you to set up an eco committee who will be responsible for conducting energy audits. The Presbyterian Church is one of the oldest churches in Ghana, 1828. And you have some of our buildings with wirings that are more than 50 years. That means that we are paying more electricity bill than we should pay. Because with years of those wires not being changed, their resistance is higher, and then the flow of current becomes slower. It means that we have to pay more because more current will be needed to power our gadgets. So our old churches with old wirings, our old mission houses with old wirings, we need to do energy audits to see what has to be done. That reduces our bills, but also saves Akosombo. We have talked about greening our spaces, and Akrofi, this space is one of, the ABOKOBI space here is one of the greenest spaces that our church has. We can do that in our mission houses and in many of the churches where we are schools. Planting more grass, planting more trees, nurturing them. We can also have creation care committees in our presbyteries and in our districts that can help local churches to be able to put practical steps in becoming ecologically just in place. We can also do environmental education. If not on quarterly or monthly basis, at least once a year, we can have a whole week of teaching members on the environment, on climate, and on the issues that come with them, so that our members will be aware of the challenges and the problems that come with climate change and how they can adapt to climate change. Last month, I spoke at the West Africa Roundtable, Green Economy Roundtable at Alisa Hotel. And on that morning, it rained heavily. And so people got there late. And one of the things that I told them was that when I was a child, I'm not too old, so I can't say when I was younger, when I was a child, you could at least predict when it will be a rainy season, the major season, and the minor season. Last week, it rained almost every day. And this is November. That is climate change. What that means is that you can't even predict the rainfall patterns any longer. And for those who rely on the patterns as they have known to plant in our congregations, will continue to suffer. And it will not be because it was a witch that didn't make their farms do well. It is simply because the climate has changed. Weather patterns has changed. And our people need to be aware so that they can adapt. And they can also know how to use or plant climate resistant or climate smart farming. Varieties that are able to withstand scarcity of water, heat, and the rest. And that will be one of the things we can do to help our congregations. Interfaith and community collaboration. Every church is situated in a community, and we cannot purport to be by ourselves. There are civil society organizations that are looking for partnerships. And because of the positioning of the church as a moral compass, as gatekeepers, as influencers everywhere we are one of the very trusted people or institutions that civil society can partner with. Because there is trust. So one of the things we would probably begin to look at is to how to form partnerships as a presbytery, as a district, as a congregation. Which organizations around me, close to us, in Ghana, outside Ghana, can we partner with in various ways, capacity building, in financing, and in any other way to be able to help our people? Sometimes we may have to extend that partnership to people of other faith, because what we are looking at is how to salvage the environment and the climate so that our people will be able to live in peace and at peace with each other. As individuals, we need personal conversion. We will need personal conversion. Because ecological justice begins with every one of us. Each of us must confront the culture of waste, greed, and indifference that fuels environmental destruction. Spiritual renewal must include ecological repentance, a turning away from consumerism, and a return to simplicity. If, as a family, we have cars, mother has a car, father has a car, children have a car, it is good. But is it ecologically just? It's something that we need to think about. Instead of driving individual cars, can we do carpooling? Something we can do. Waste separation, plastic waste, organic waste. Something we can do at home in our congregations. The call of Jesus to deny ourselves extends to our habits of consumption as well. It's not only spiritual. And so, as a people, we need to have a truly converted heart that will not destroy what God has put in our very care. Mr. Chair, as I conclude, Paul cites the earth like a person and says that the earth groans. Creation is groaning. It is groaning under the weight of pollution, under the weight of exploitation, and under the weight of neglect. And yet, amid this groaning, God's Spirit is at work, calling the church to participate in the renewal of creation. Creation is waiting for the revealing of the children of God. All of us here. And that revelation must not only be in words, but it must be in deeds. It must not only be in sign, it must be evident by our works. When the church plants trees, cleans rivers, empowers farmers, and advocates for justice, and preaches stewardship, creation's hope comes alive again. The peace and the security of Ghana depend not only on our political stability, but on our ecological stability. As families are moved, as communities begin to become poorer because of the scarcity of resources, then they will move into the survival of the fittest mode. And they will do anything to survive. And that will include breaking in on people, stealing, embezzling, and all kinds of vices that come with greed and need. The health of our environment is the health of our nation. The climate crisis, biodiversity loss, and environmental inequality are not distant global issues, but they are our daily reality. And so the church must rise, not as a bystander, but also as a bridge builder between faith and action, between heaven and earth, between redemption and restoration. Just as James will say, if you say you have faith, show me your works. Reverend Chair, it is a humble call to all of us to renew our covenant to the Creator and with creation itself. We need to let our worship include a reverence for our rivers and forests, not to worship them, but to revere them as part of God's creation to benefit us. And our prayers should also be for the restoration of the soil and the sky from which we get our food and the air that we breathe. And our mission should include the healing of the earth. Because in doing so, we bear witness to the fullness of the gospel that through Christ, God is reconciling all things to himself. Not just men, all things. Finally, in Matthew chapter 28, Jesus will give a command and says that, therefore go and preach this gospel, not unto men, but he says unto all creation. All creation. In John 3:16, the Bible didn't say for God so loved human beings. It says for God so loved the world. And all these things point to the fact that God is interested in not just human beings, but the systems and the structures that will guarantee our livelihood and our sustainability. Reverend Chair, I pray that our faith become the seed of restoration, our voices the wind of change, and our actions the living proof that ecological justice is indeed possible in our time. For if we heal the earth, we shall secure the peace of our land. Thank you very much. I'm grateful for the time, and I hope that our deliberations this week will be successful, and not long after here, we will see greater results than we are seeing today, because the church will rise and will be counted, and our voice will be heard, securing the peace of our nation. Thank you once again. God bless you.
I think we can do better than this one. Thank you, our brother George Mate Okoli of Arusha, Ghana. Brothers and sisters, I believe our brother have done so much justice to the topic. He's telling us that it is our duty as ambassador of Christ to preserve the environment that has been given unto us. We should not only be preaching about saving lives, but our duty of keeping what God has created is to move from our comfort zones to where the problems are, being advocates for people to understand the need of keeping the environment for our own survival. There are so much injustice because of greed. And as a conscience of the nation, it is our duty to protect what God has given unto us. And if 12,000 people should die in the country because of air pollution alone, then we have a very big problem on our hands. Yesterday, we were talking about the problem of the North Boko in particular, which has affected the church very much because of our hospital and other presence there. We want solution, but you can see that some of the problems are coming from the use of the land. That is creating problem for some of these conflicts. He has directed us to go to our own institution, Presbytery Esr, to seek knowledge, so that when we go out there and we are talking about the environment, we will be talking from the position of knowledge, and we will be ready to help the society and our congregations. Yes, we are ministers, we are workers in the church. We have an equal duty to help preserve what God has created. And if we can get people to preach to, then we need to protect the environment for the future. Our brother George, we thank you for giving us this insight. Now we'll open the floor and then ask for questions, clarification. So if you have anything, you can raise up your hand. I'll give the number. And then after the first round, we will see whether there's other questions. We'll look at it. Thank you, our brother George. You so 1, 2, 3. We will take the first 3 first. The first one.
My concern centered around an engagement I had with a prominent figure in the committee not quite long ago. I was lamenting about the situation we found ourselves as a country in reference to environment, road sector. Almost every aspect is in tatters. Then I asked him, Papa, you have been in Abuche and all those MPs, about 70 or 80% of them have been in Abuche before, including our president. Why is that the system is different, but you cannot apply any of them here to improve our situation? Then he looked at me sternly in the face and said, Osofo, I wish you'll be in our shoes. Those who had the opportunity to be there, they have a system. Some have about 20 years development plan, 30 years, and irrespective of whoever comes to power, they make sure you toe that line. But our system here is different. Even in our small communities, the Ohene there has no control over the citizenry. How much more the assemblyman or the MP or the MC or whoever else. So our system here, you don't know where to start from. You talk about a sanitation issue, and they will tell you, assemblyman, oh, hi, so for the fear of losing votes, nobody wants to talk. And those who have given them authority to manage, if they are afraid of confronting issues like Papa is lamenting here, then where do we start from? This is my concern. The situation seems to be so hopeless, though he has given us some hope. But from the discussion I had with that man, even they are aware that it is neither here nor there. And if they have no clue to the issues confronting us, then, Papa, we are doomed. So I thank my big brother for the exposure. But I think we could extend this presentation to a bigger forum so that we can attract as much people as possible, so that the message can go further than, though we are not many, we can try our best, but we are not many. That's my contribution, sir.
Thank you, Papa. We will look at it. The second one. So it's a concern about how our leaders are seeing other things outside the country, but they are not doing the same thing here. And it seems the problem is hopeless. It cannot be. Maybe there will be a way out. So the second one.
Okay. Our speaker spoke very well. But there are some few things that is a bit of concern. That normally when I hear them talking, they don't mention about it. For example, he spoke about the water being dry, the galamsey. But a lot of people have not spoken about Mepe, when the dam, the water destroyed people, killed people, destroyed their houses. And it is still going on every year. And for last year, when they opened the dam in the north, it takes 8 days to get to Mepe. And nobody, VRA, no news, nothing, alerted Mepe that they have opened the dam, so water is coming. Took over the church, every place. I think let us add it to Galamsey. I think it's even more important than Galamsey. A goat farmer was telling me they started by importing hay to feed the goat. When you have 10 goats in the house, you can feed them with your plantain, your cassava. And in the Adan area, the cassava, we sell it. If you look at 6 cities, 10 cities, the food that we give to our goats in the house, because most of us have started cementing all our houses. The mission house is being cemented everywhere. There's no greens. So he says they buy hay from outside to feed the goats here today. It is sad. It is really, really sad. I also agree with you that simplicity is the best. We are becoming too white. We are copying the whites. You go to somebody's house, those days there were backyard gardens. There's nothing again. The green grass, they all heal, they are medicines. But we step on it and we urinate on it, we go to toilet, we do we cannot, if there are people's houses when you go, there are some herbs that can heal. Ginger can heal us from headache. But when we are sick, we want to still go to the hospital. Nobody is planting ginger. And in our area, the heat is too much. is too much. It's my prayer that we'll start addressing some of these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Next one, third one.
Thank you, Papa Moderator and Papa Speaker. My concern is about the company, Arocha Ghana. I don't know how you operate and if your company can be partnered in the southern part. I think today is my first time hearing your company, and I don't know your mode of operation, if it can be extended or if a district or a presbytery can partner with you in the activities in this ecological peacekeeping.
Okay, thank you very much for your concerns and questions. First one on our leaders witnessing the systems that work elsewhere and they're not replicating same here. It's a concern all of us have had over the years. But deeply connected to that is the issue of culture and the issue of mindset. These two are some of the things that if we don't work on, we probably will not be able to see any change. Culture, we are told, is the way of life. It means that that's how we live. And any people define the way they want to live based on the perceived necessities, challenges, advantages or disadvantages. So, as a people, what is our culture? What thrives? What works? What do we crave? What do we not crave? So, in the past, our communities were thriving because we were working through chiefs. Chiefs were our leaders. And so, the elder system, the chief and the traditional structure was what is working. We seem to have a certain hybrid system now that doesn't work. So, there is political power, there are chiefs, and the chiefs have no power, even though we have given them some semblance of power. But those are not powers that are very clearly defined. So there are things that chiefs cannot do or can do, depending on which location they are. So if you are, for instance, in the Kumasi or in the Ashanti region, their head, their traditional head, has some power. If you are probably in some other parts of the country, you will not have it the same way. And so it is not clearly defined. And so people do anything they want, and they can hide behind that. The other thing has to do with worldviews. Worldviews are the way we see things, the way we interpret things, and the way we perceive things. Three things contribute to worldviews. First one is belief. What you believe to be true or not true will, to a large extent, influence the way you behave. So if you believe that being simple is true, is good, then you are going to do something about it. If you don't believe it, you are not going to do anything about it. If you believe that God cares about environment, then you are going to care about the environment. If you don't believe so, you will not do anything. If you believe that God cares about the people, so that you put in structures and systems as a political power because you believe in God, then you are going to do it. Otherwise, then you will not do anything about it. The second thing is our value systems. What is important to you is what you put your energies to, what you put your strength to. The politicians have discovered that every election year, all you need to do is to mobilize a few cedis, distribute to the few vulnerable and gullible people, and then they will vote. They don't think about policy. They don't think about development plan. For them, it's about survival of the fittest day by day. So if they can get some 6-piece cloth, some 100 Ghana cedis, that's okay for them. They will vote. And they are not thinking about the next 4 years. That's become pretty much the value system that we have now. Then we are looking at perceptions. How do we perceive our people? Politicians know that all they need to do is to tell you something that you believe. Something that you are happy with. Whether or not it is possible within the time frame or given the resources that we have as a country, which is of course inelastic, is another thing. So once they know that, oh, people see us in a particular way, they know we are stealing their money, but they know that when we give them some of the money we steal, then they will flow with us. Then that's the way things go. So our leaders will not be really moved to do anything that will change our countries, unless, of course, the church that is the moral compass stands up and begin to speak. Then again, if you are saying Ghana is 70% Christian or so, it is for us as a church to go into those figures for us to understand that 70% includes people who have Christian names but have not attended church in the whole year except 31st night. That's part of the 70%. It includes all kinds and strands of Christianity. Anybody who holds a Bible but does any other thing is still considered a Christian. And so nominal 70%, yes. But actual, probably we may not even have 20% who are true Christians. That is not to say that we cannot change the nation. It will always take one person, 2 people, 3 people, and then we will continue to change the nation. So one yeast leavens the whole lump. Wherever we are as a people, if we begin to stand up, show what can be possible, and do the things that are right, and show examples, it will be difficult to bring change. But with time, with persistence, we'll be able to bring change. And I think that's one of the things that we can do. Now, to address the issue of the dam spillage. The dam spillage. Now, I mentioned that one of the things that is eluding us now is our dependence on the predictability of the weather or climate some time past, which is changing now. But at least when the dam is going to be opened, what I know for a fact is that VRA makes announcements in communities. The problem is that as a people, we are stubborn. We are just stubborn. I know because I've worked in the Aveime, Mepe, Bato areas before. And I know that they do give announcements. They come to notify, they make announcements. But they know that after the distraction, government will be forced to bring in new mattresses. You'll be shocked that there is one family that we interviewed. The man says, well, every year, because of the spillage, they get a new mattress and some new things. Because NADBO will bring them things. That's why they won't move. So as a people, the way we think, the way we reflect, the way we see things is a challenge. And that's one of the things that we need to work at as a church. Not just preaching salvation, but also helping our people to think Christianly. To know that greed is bad. It's as bad as fornication or any other sin. And that's one of the challenges. Yes, the spillage of the dam causes a lot of challenge for people. But I know for also a fact that if we heed the warnings, early warning signs, and at least that one, we know that every year around a particular time, the dams are spilled. We could be able to do something about that. Well, as a church, maybe the Volta Presbytery and the Dangwe Tomu Presbytery can team up and work also with VRA to know their timetable so that every year, we as a church will know that, okay, this is the period that the dam will be spilled. And then we will also announce in our congregations and by extension to the communities. I think it's one thing that if the church takes up and does as one of our community empowerment or engagement processes or activities, it will be something that is helpful for us. It will be helpful for us. So if reps from Volta and the Dangwe Tomu Presbytery are here, probably that's one of the things we can take to our presbyteries and discuss and see how we can work with the Volta River Authority. Reverend, the last one. Yes, so Arosha works, as I said, we have offices in Damongo, which takes care of the northern landscape, in Bosomtre for the mid-Ghana, and then in Etiwa, Chebi for the southern Ghana landscape. We have operations around Keta and then also around Pomazi, Winneba. But the offices are in 3 locations, including the head office in Accra. Once I know which location you are and what the issues are we can work with, then we can know what partnerships we can do. We work with churches, we work with schools, we work with communities, we work in anywhere. One of the reasons why Atiwa is still there now is because he had to take Arusha to sue the government when they wanted to mine bauxite in the place. We sued the government. Yes. So it's one of the things that we are proud to do. If we are Christian, but we also know that we need to be able to let our faith speak, not just when we are in church, but everywhere we are. We need to be able to speak to our faith and to our conscience. And that's what we can do. So let's know which district you are in, what the challenges are, and what we can work together to see how we can save our environment. Thank you.
The second round of questions. So 1, 2, 3. So the first one.
You for all that you're doing. So I wanted to ask one question and then also propose another. The question is, what is currently being done from your end about Galamsey? And I'm asking this because in very recent times, some names have been called. You know, some few months ago, it was all over, but you couldn't really call out names. But for some time now, at least some few weeks, you even mentioned one of them in your presentation. What are you doing about it in collaboration with the church? My other submission was on the curriculum you have built for schools. Personally, I think you should throw a lot of focus on that, because I feel the older generation are already corrupted. If you want to talk about preserving the environment, getting rid of plastics, for us, so I think you should go down to maybe preparatory school, like basic school, maybe nursery, primary, and start talking to them heart to heart. Save your generation. So a campaign like that, because I feel the older generation, they are gone, so that you focus on the younger generation. Thank you. God bless you.
Again, thank you so much for the presentation. Very educative. I'm looking at the global challenge. As you said, Africa contributes less than 5% to the global emission and then the greenhouse effect. And as it stands now, I remember His Excellency, the President of Ghana, also stood on an international front and said the same thing, that the effect that we as Africa are going through is not as a result of the emission of these effects from Africa, but rather from the European countries. What do you think we as a nation have to do? Because as it stands now, if we are not able to allocate resources to mitigate against this, and this is more than the Ghana as we have it, and even Africa, and we still have to suffer, even if we are still doing whatever we can to mitigate against the various ecological crises that we have as a nation. Globally, what can we do? Again, I'm seeing that the people we preach to maybe are not the people who are causing ecological crisis. Christians and politics, Christians and chieftaincy. Chiefs play major role. Otunfo stood as a king, spoke against this. Politics. It seems Christians are far from these two areas. And as we come up with strategies to combat this, don't you think that, as especially ESR, we should take a second look at Christians and politics, Christians and chieftaincy? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for the detailed presentation. Please, these are my questions. In the first place, the more we campaign against Galamsey, the more the activity is going on. Recently in Asante Presbytery, the Galamsey people were even fighting against the soldiers, where lives were in danger. Last year, the YPG National, together with the National DSS and Arocha Ghana, we had this campaign in West Achim Presbytery. And afterwards, we had a day in which all the YPG members were in red, campaigning against it. I personally, because I was part of this agenda, I received messages from a certain YPG members in which we were being lambasted, saying, will you get us a better job? So we used this money, after practicing Galamsey, we used money to pay our tax, our tithe, our offering, our annual harvest. So do you reject such money? So you are telling us what to do. Oh, it wasn't pleasant at all. And in your presentation, what must we do? And I was much on church and congregational actions. Papa, if you have been in Akwasisu before, their local church, the exterior building is being towed by one Galamsey man. So such person, how can you tell him or her, Galamsey, stop, this, that. And what I learned is that during annual harvest, it's like a challenge between the Galamsey people. Obia peso oyibi, or they want to do something for the church. And they are the main source of finance for the church. So we're going to tell them this, or we should refer them to you, Arocha Ghana. So I want clarity. Thank you.
I'll start from this way. Thank you very much. I'm glad that these concerns are coming from you. So I quoted the Reverend Professor Ebenezer Yaublasu, who is a Presbyterian minister at Akofi Christola Institute. He supervised some students to do research on the church and Galamsey. Let me give you a highlight of some of the findings. And some of the things you are saying are true. In fact, all the things you are saying are true. That in the Galamsey prone areas, the biggest contributors to the finances of the church are people who are involved in illegal mining and Galamsey. But that is not a shocker, because that's known. The real shocker is that there are churches who have Galamsey sites. They own concessions. The church itself owns a site. And that's how deep and pervasive the problem is. It's like asking a question of whether or not food is good, so poisoned food should be taken or not. Again, the Catholic Church has shown the way. In the announcement of the Galamsey people, they said any known person who is involved in Galamsey, we will not take your offering, we will not take your tithe, we will not take your contribution. Will we follow suit? That's a question that we, as a department, can propose to General Assembly. We, as a department, would have to, in this workshop, I'm sure that one of the things that you may have to come to terms with, and your resolution you should come to, is to propose to General Assembly that we need to also come out with such a communique and a stance. See, before that, those people came, the church was thriving, the church was alive. And without their money, the church will be financed. When the Pharisees said, people are shouting, Hosanna, and making noise, let them keep quiet. Jesus says if the human beings keep quiet, the stones will start. So without their money, God is able to provide for himself and for his work. It is because we have depended on them so much for so long that we think that we cannot wean ourselves off their contribution. We can actually. If we put ourselves to it, we can. So that is my response in that regard. Again, you see, wearing red and going on those campaigns are good for publicity. But beyond that, in our day-to-day lives, how are we contributing to the campaign against Galamsey? How are we working in our advocacy? So before this march with this red, did we have any capacity building for the young people? So that if any Galamsey, whether in their family or in their school or where they work, confronts them, they'll be able to sit the person down and tell them the reasons why Galamsey is not good. And it is a theological, it's a spiritual, it's a moral, it's an environmental, it's an economical problem for everyone. So you see, in the places where there is Galamsey, there is pressure on the health systems. Because people are drinking poison water, people are getting sicker, and then we have to fund the hospitals to be able to take care of them. So it's an economic issue. It's a social issue because when people are sick, they will not be able to interact well, families can't gel well, communities cannot gel well. That's it. It's a spiritual issue because they will not be able to come to church. We will not be able to preach to them. And it cuts across all the places. So it's really a time bomb against our peace and our stability that we need to work at. Our brother is talking about global statistics. If I give you some of the figures, you'll be too shocked. So I try to tone down so that we'll be able to just manage the things that we have here. True, Africa contributes very minimally to the emissions and greenhouse gases. But we bear the brunt of it for many reasons that we cannot discuss now. But what can we do? The simplest things we can do, helping to clean our environments, take away the plastics. So if you take notice, there are these 3 R's that they use: reduce, reuse, recycle. Reducing the use of plastics. But you see, while people are trying to lobby governments to pass legislations so that they can reduce or ban plastics, the plastic industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And so those who are in that space are also lobbying against it. Because if governments ban it, then their businesses go down. So it is tough. At Arusha, Ghana, we have had to refuse funding from certain organizations because their actions contributes directly to the degradation of our environment and climate. So we said no, we thank you for your gesture, but because of your activities, the way your activities degrade the environment, we cannot take money from you. And so that's one of the things the church can do. It is one of the things the church can do. Reverend?
The next one is the Christians involving themselves
Yes.
in politics and teachers to change.
In the Bible, when the Israelites asked for a king, Samuel first protested and went to God, and God says, give it to them, that's what they want. And he told them the things that they are going to suffer as a result of a system that is not theirs. Now, traditional rulership is traditionally African. Traditional rulership is traditionally African. But one of the unfortunate blows the gospel dealt with us is to make us see traditional rulership as evil and fetish and demonic. It can be, depending on the things that you do. But itself as an institution is not demonic. And the Church of Pentecost has shown the way. I don't know how much the Presbyterian Church is doing. I know we are also doing something. Yes, mission to the palace. But the Pentecost Church has done it in a very unique way. And I believe that we can do more to encourage our royals to take up positions. And to take not just the position, but to go there with their Christian value and ethos. So that in the palace, they are a witness of Christ in the things that are happening there. Because the gospel cannot be limited in only particular spaces. The gospel is able to penetrate everywhere, including the palace. A little girl is the one who preached about the God of Israel to Naaman's household. And that brought deliverance to that household. Any of us can take it upon ourselves. And not just any of us, all of us should be able to do that well. Politics. You know, when we have harvests, I'm sure that the harvest committees, they do a lot of work to be able to get a chairman and supporters. And one of the markers, the things they look out for, is somebody who can give money. True or false? It's true. I'm not sure as a church we tell them that also be able to check the moral and spiritual health of the people that we get the money from. That's not part of the mandate that we give them. And so they will continue to influence the way churches run. I know some communities where, as a minister, if you don't tread well, you won't spend up to a year there. Because the powers that be, within and outside the church, will move you out. Why? Because we have given them room to be able to influence how the church is run. And it's one of the things that we need to begin to work at. So we encourage our people to go into politics, but with what kind of preparation? Because once they are going in there, we are throwing them into a den of, I don't want to use a den of thieves. But depending on how we have prepared them, then when they go in, they will go in as salts and lights and not falter and fall like the rest. So if you are putting them there, which we should by all means, we need to disciple them. They need to be aware of the challenges in there. They need to be aware of the opportunities in there. And they need to be aware of how to navigate in those spaces. So that when they come face to face with corruption, they will be able to have a voice like Daniel and stand out to be counted. If you have not prepared them that way, then we will not be able to. Yes. And children? Okay. So, yes. So the curriculum is for children. We are adding more. Like I said, last night, we were also in another meeting where we have produced a new book in partnership with some authors where they have written about 10 of the endangered species in Ghana. The pangolins, the sea turtles, some of the elephants, and other animals. And we published that. We launched that book just last night. And 2,000 copies are going to be distributed for free in the next few weeks ahead of us. But we are also raising more resources to be able to get more of those things for children. They are illustrated so children will love them. And so that's what we are doing. By all means, we hope to do more. We are also working on producing a book that is like a devotional, but a story book, but also an environment for children. And we are working with churches. Last in June or July, I think it was in June, we were in Kumasi with the Kumasi Christian Council of Churches to help to do a validation process to look at the stories and then look at the theological standing and everything. And that's also for children. So it's something we are doing. We very much understand that, yes, you can't teach an old dog a new trick. But while we are working at the adults, we are also helping to work with children. What we are doing against Galamsey, Arocha, like any organization, cannot do everything and we are not everywhere. So we concentrate our energies in a few places where we'll be able to have more influence and then we can consolidate our gains. So as I mentioned, Etiwa would not have been Etiwa by now if not for the extensive work we've been doing there. Extensive work. We've been working with the Ochehene, we've been working with churches, we've been working with community members, religious groups in every space to help to safeguard that forest. If you care to know, That forest is the source of 3 river bodies for us. Brim, Ayensu, and Densu. So if that forest is gone, you have no idea the challenges that Ghana Water is going to face. Accra. And so we are protecting that forest like our very lives depend on it. We are helping community members who live at the fringes of the forest to also have other sources of income so that they are incursion into the forest to log, to farm, and to do all kinds of hunting activities to threaten the biodiversity can come down. So we are presenting other alternative source of living for them. We are educating them. We are doing advocacy. And then, of course, we're also strong in pushing the government to repeal the law that mandates or allows people to mine in forest areas. And I think that law was laid last week or so. That bill was laid in Parliament. We are hoping that it will go through the process and then that law will be repealed. And then would have been making a headway. So those are some of the things that we are doing in order to help fight the galamsey. In the Bosomtwi area too, yes, we are working on preserving the lake and other adjoining communities and their biodiversity. In the north, we are attached to the Mole National Park and other areas there, helping to preserve those communities so that human activity, human activity is the greatest threat to the environment and biodiversity. It is us. So as people try to go in there, we are helping to do the education, to protect the place, and then to work with the government to set in laws and to put in all those things. Now, one of us mentioned the fact that in some of the communities, the community members are fighting the military, the 9 months operations and the rest. And it didn't start today, and it will end today. The reason is this. Community members will not be emboldened to fight the military unless there is a political power or a traditional power that backs them. I mean, this is the military. So for young people to be able to stand and say, we will face you off, you should know that there is something or some power that backs them. Political, traditional. And that's why we are saying that as a church, we need to have our moral voice up. We need to address these things in the strongest terms as possible, but hoping that these things will change. And we'll work along with them, and we are willing to work along with you as Arusha to be able to do these things. Thank you very much. I don't know if we missed any of the questions.
No, for now, I think we have taken all of them. I think we can do better than this one. We thank you, our brother George, for the insight. But I want to say something about this galamsey issue. This morning I was watching a small video in Abidjan. They have a lagoon in the center of the town and how it looked like. And just at the western side, Ghana, we are suffering through this galamsey. I was transferred from Takwa to my current station only September. And after spending some time in Takwa, I saw that the way we talk about galamsey is not what is happening there. We cannot use a word of mouth to talk about the ills of the galamsey without looking at the other side. Last September, the Pro-Vice Chancellor of University of Mines and Technology was at our church in Takwa. And she said something, that before you get 1 ounce of gold, you need about 2 tons of the earth before you can get 1 ounce. For galamsey, whether we like it or not, it will continue. Because people are prepared to die. The way they get money, I don't think you can give them any alternate work. I am at Aguna Kanta currently, and that's where they have rubber. Even getting people to tap the rubber is a problem. Because galamsey money is not rubber money. They are not prepared. They will not do it. But we should get the gold, all right. But we need to get a good way of getting the gold. From the past, the mining company have been mining without any problem. Now they want easy way out of getting the gold. Our leaders are aware. They have technology that they can get it, but it will come at a cost. But if you want a good environment, I believe we all have to pay the price. Our brother George was saying that the Catholic Church is saying that they don't want any money from any Galamsey. If you are in Takwa and they are coming around, ask them where from this money before you put it. They are certain it is easier said than done. You can say it on radio and everybody will hear. But how can you determine whether the person is a mining worker or the person is selling tomatoes? It will be difficult. So for saying for publicity, it will be easy to just say it. But we need to do more than that. Last year, we went for a CDD program in Takrade about LGBT. And I was driving from Takwa to the program. And every town, left and right in the morning around a.m., full young men, women going to their normal Galamsey job before the elections. And they were saying that the government have to make emergency so that even if they have to kill them. I said, hey, you have to be careful. Then the whole community, you are going to kill all of them. Because a community, you can get about 90% of the youth, not from that town, but from all over Ghana. Those who are very strong and they are doing it. But we have to do something about it. As I'm talking for the last 6 months, we are not getting potable water in Takwa because the source, the Bonsa River, is almost dead. There's no water to treat. But they are happy because they can get, yes, that's what they are saying, that for the money, they have it. But we are creating problems. He said that there are so many diseases in and around where these things are happening. But because of the money, they don't think about it. But we are advocates as ESR. We have to go out there and preach what we have heard. Our small bit can change something. At least the mindset, the way we look at the problems, we can do something about it. Brother, thank you very much for allowing yourself to be a source of hope. That the problem is big, but we can do something about it. Let's give another round of applause to our brother.
Papa, please, thank you very much. So we'll from here, we'll take a group photo outside where we usually take it. So we'll take some chairs there. Then from the group photo,
accredited by the National Accreditation Board and affiliated to the IIE in South Africa, Jackson Institute of Innovation and Leadership, JIIL, is bridging the gap between industry and academia. We run bachelor's degrees in business administration and with marketing option.
At Jackson, what we do is we train certified and professional students through blended online institution. So where our school uses online to train you to gain professional certifications and degrees ready for the 21st century market.
Admission forms can be obtained at the GCB, ADB, Republic Bank, EcoBank, and Snapiaba Savings and Loans. Locate Jackson Institute of Innovation and Leadership at Denyami Kumase, adjacent the Ridge School. Call 0557 123 409. Accredited by the National Accreditation Board and affiliated to the IIE in South Africa, Jackson Institute of Innovation and Leadership, JIIL, is bridging the gap between industry and academia. We run bachelor's degrees in business administration and with marketing option.
At Jackson, what we do is we train certified and professional students through blended online institution. So where our school uses online to train you to gain professional certifications and degrees ready for the 21st century market.
Admission forms can be obtained at the GCB, ADB, Republic Bank, EcoBank, and Snapiaba Savings and Loans. Locate Jackson Institute of Innovation and Leadership at Denyami Kumase, adjacent the Ridge School. Call 0557 123 409.
For 2 years, you are being very generous. Now, it's like the new wave is even when you are pregnant and you are buying things for your baby, you add a tablet.
Wow.
And that is where the problems begin. For some children, you realize that from day one, every point he's a bit late.
Okay.
He's sitting late, he's crawling late. So some children come with medical conditions that make them delay in every milestone.
You as a man, you know personally that you cannot perform your duty as a man in the marriage. After 3 months, it's Yamra. Now, Barnabas made so warrior.
We are Wufua, Abufrano, when I didn't pass as so dear. Nemum Onya in a nim a was as he saw, and you dear view, obey a bindia.
To me, a baby catch man. Some mamma said, oh, Jenna by force. Made a never overhead. And yes, I never, yes, I never cost. Ain't it between Mummy and Nuna as a sentence a year, Juma.
Welcome to the Presbyterian Printing Press, where your world-class print materials are produced. This is where all the magic happens. We have a very welcoming atmosphere where you are made comfortable while we attend to your working needs. Our ultra-modern section features the latest digital ready-to-get machines and equipment that produces the best results to meet your printing needs in minutes. Our services include general printing, digital printing, case-bound books, and designing. Locate us at Accra on the Graphic Road behind the SMT truck dealership, or reach out to us on our social media platforms or call us on 054-235-7118 or 026-276-8055.
Accredited by the National Accreditation Board and affiliated to the IIE in South Africa, Jackson Institute of Innovation and Leadership, JIIL, is bridging the gap between industry and academia. We run bachelor's degrees in business administration and with marketing option.
At Jackson, what we do is we train certified and professional students through blended online institution. So where our school uses online to train you to gain professional certifications and degrees ready for the 21st century market.
Admission forms can be obtained at the GCB, ADB, Republic Bank, EcoBank, and Snapiaba Savings and Loans. Locate Jackson Institute of Innovation and Leadership at Denyami Kumase, adjacent the Ridge School. Call 0557 123 409.
Welcome to the Presbyterian Printing Press, where your world-class print materials are produced. This is where all the magic happens. We have a very welcoming atmosphere where you are made comfortable while we attend to your working needs. Our ultra-modern section features the latest digital ready-to-get machines and equipment that produces the best results to meet your printing needs in minutes. Our services include general printing, digital printing, case-bound books, and designing. Locate us at Accra on the Graphic Road behind the SMT truck dealership, or reach out to us on our social media platforms or call us on 054-235-7118 or 026-276-8055.
You as a man, you know personally that you cannot perform your duty as a man in the marriage. After 3 months, it's yamra. Now, ban bit made so warrior.
We are wofua abofrano. When I didn't pass as so dear, Nemum Onya yin and nim a was as he saw, and you dear view, obey a bindia.
As I said to me, baby catch man. Some mamma said, oh, Jenna by force. Made never overhead. And yes, I never, yes, I never cost. Ain't it between Mummy and Nuna as a sentence? A year, Juma.
But 2 years you are being very generous. Now it's like the new wave is even when you are pregnant and you are buying things for your baby, you add a tablet.
Wow.
And that is where the problems begin. For some children, you realize that from day one, every point he's a bit late.
Okay.
He's sitting late, he's crawling late. So some children come with medical conditions that make them delay in every milestone.
Welcome to Call to Serve. This is where we give you the opportunity to know our agent in charge beyond the pulpit.
It's a very challenging assignment.
I saw my dad really good to my mama.
Right, you would want to say, hey, and then
Papa said, hey, Esther, thank God. I said, Papa, why? He said, I've gotten the letter long time. It has been in my bag.
I told him, just get the form. Let me sign. And we also have to sign. And if you open my belly, they're starting, they should close it. They said, no, we can't do that. I said, okay, then I'm going to buy blades. And they come and then they put it.
Save the
accredited by the National Accreditation Board and affiliated to the IIE in South Africa. Jackson Institute of Innovation and Leadership, JIIL, is bridging the gap between industry and academia. We run bachelor's degrees in business administration and with marketing option.
At Jackson, what we do is we train certified and professional students through blended online institution. So where our school uses online to train you to gain professional certifications and degrees ready for the 21st century market.
Admission forms can be obtained at the GCB, ADB, Republic Bank, EcoBank, and Snapiaba Savings and Loans. Locate Jackson Institute of Innovation and Leadership at Denyami Kumase, adjacent the Ridge School. Call 0557 123 409.
Welcome to the Presbyterian Printing Press, where your world-class print materials are produced. This is where all the magic happens. We have a very welcoming atmosphere where you are made comfortable while we attend to your working needs. Our ultra-modern section features the latest digital ready-to-get machines and equipment that produces the best results to meet your printing needs in minutes. Our services include general printing, digital printing, case-bound books, and designing. Locate us at Accra on the Graphic Road behind the SMT truck dealership, or reach out to us on our social media platforms or call us on 054-235-7118 or 026-276-8055.
You as a man, you know personally that you cannot perform your duty as a man in the marriage. After 3 months, it's yamra. Now, ban bit me so
we are wofua abofrano. When I didn't pass asasi so dear, Nemum onya yin and nim ewas asasi so a onya would debut, obey a bindia.
As I said to me, baby catch man. Some mamma said, oh, Jenna by force. Made never obey, and yes, I never, yes, I never cost. Ain't it between mummy and as a sentence? A year, Juma.
For 2 years, you are being very generous. Now, it's like the new wave is even when you are pregnant and you are buying things for your baby, you add a tablet.
Wow.
And that is where the problems begin. For some children, you realize that from day one, every point he's a bit late.
Okay.
He's sitting late, he's crawling late. So some children come with medical conditions that make them delay in every milestone.
Welcome to Call to Serve. This is where we give you the opportunity to know our agents in charge beyond the pulpit.
It's a very challenging assignment.
I saw my dad really good to my mama.
Right, you would want to say, hey,
and then Papa said, hey Esther, thank God. I said, Papa, why? He said, I've gotten the letter long time. It has been in my bag.
I told him, just get the form. Let me sign, and we also have to sign. And if you open my belly and they're starting, they should close it. They said, no, we can't do that. I said, okay, then I'm going to bad late, and they come and then they put me.
atumfu kesi potisa boafuko ara ne Yehowa. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Please, let's sit. The next session is also called unto order. We are privileged to have in our mix a very important personality to address us this morning. First lecture has come, and we are going to listen to the second one from our own person, Mrs. Rebecca Taiku Saba Esquire, Project Management Professional. She is the National Director of Development and Social Services with the Presbyterian Church of Ghana. She has over 20 years experience in the development sector. The DSS oversees the running of 62 Presbyterian hospitals, nursing and midwifery training colleges, and community-based rehabilitation centers. Her work also covers the Presbyterian Go Home Camp for alleged witches in Gambaga, 6 agricultural stations across Ghana, and several women empowerment, WASAM, and disaster relief programs across Ghana. Her previous role was as Deputy Programs Director and Head of Programs of Star Ghana Foundation, a local civil society support facility. She was first Ghanaian country manager of Christian Aid in Ghana, where she was key in designing global advocacy campaigns such as the Tax Justice Campaign and the Climate Justice Campaign with the churches in England. So you see, she is not a small person at all. International woman. Locally, she supported the setting up of a local association of churches, that is Churches Together, ACT, Alliance Chapter 2, support disaster relief and prevention. Her other key roles included as Chief Operating Officer with the Institute of Democratic Governance. She is also a fellow of prestigious Mo Ibrahim African Leadership Fellowship and served her fellowship with the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. She serves on several boards and committees, including Executive Committee member, Christian Council of Ghana, co-convener, Ecumenical Diaconia Reference Group of the World Council of Churches, WCC, in Geneva, Switzerland. She's also a PRO, International Federation of Women Lawyers, that is FIDA, Ghana. He's a member, Presbyterian Church of Ghana at 200 Planning Committee. Subscriber, Star Ghana Foundation, among others. A very, very important personality that we have in our mix to address us. Mrs. Taiko is a member of the Ghana Bar Association, having called to the bar in 2016. That is 9 years ago. In addition, she has an LLB from JIMPA, a Master of Arts in Development Studies from the University of Ghana, a Master of Arts in organizational development from the University of Cape Coast and a BSc in agricultural science from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. She is also a certified project management professional, that's PMP. A member of the Institute of Directors, Ghana. Member International Federation of Female Lawyers, that's FIDA, and has several certificates in gender advocacy, monitoring and evaluation, and fundraising. She attended a Brigades. That's a pure Presbyterian. She loves swimming and gardening. She is married with 3 children and also has 2 dogs. 2 dogs at her home. She worships at the Garrison Methodist Presby Church in Bema Camp. These are some of the few. There are many that time will not allow us to mention all. I want to take this opportunity to invite onto the podium with a club offering, Mrs. Teiku Sabra, Esquire. Mrs. The whole area is given to you. Explore and address us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Papa. And may the peace of the Lord be with you all. Sometimes these things, when we write it, it's for reading, it's for, like reading, not for speaking. So when they are talking about, somebody is saying that, then I become very Presbyterian and very humble. You try to hide, but we thank God for the gifts and the talents that He has given to us that we bring to bear in His church. But for today, I stand before you as a lowly servant of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana to talk about how the church, or what your church is doing on ecological integrity campaign. And it will be a conversation. It will be a conversation. I want you to challenge me, and I want to challenge you too. That by the end of this presentation, we will have come up with some new ideas that we can do. There's been a very good relationship between ESR and DSS. I think in terms of the directorship, we work very well together. We haven't done anything without ESR being part of it. All our units, whether it's health, whether it's agric, whether it's youth empowerment, whether it's relief services, everything has been through ESR. And we look forward to doing more. And so I'm happy that I'm here today. Yes, actually, yes. And sometimes he's also my boss. So this is my, the way we'll start with the theological underpinning in terms of why should we do ecological integrity? Why is it important? I won't talk a lot because as of for a kukudam, Bebre will say, but just a little bit. And then we'll go on to some of the things that we have done as DSS, and then we'll end with a conversation about what we can do more. And some of these things have happened in your presbyteries. And some of the things might happen in your presbyteries, but you're not aware of them. So we will see. And then we'll see what we can do to move forward. So I just put two Bible verses. Genesis chapter 2, verse 15, which in many instances is the first commandment that God gave to man. It says, the Lord took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and to take care of it. Most of the time we go to the 10 commandments. Thou shalt not this, I am the Lord your God. But the very first commandment that God gave to man was about what? Taking care of the garden that He had put us in. And the question is, are we doing that? We forget, I say, love your neighbor as yourself. That's the greatest commandment. Love this and that. But the environment where God put us. This is the very first commandment, Genesis, before we even go anywhere else. And that is something that is important. That's why the church is seeing ecological integrity as important. Then the second one, and I love this, we know that the whole is the whole. The whole of earth or the whole of creation was groans and labors with birth pangs together. Or say that in the whole of creation, it didn't say only human beings. The whole of creation groans. That means there's something happening that we have to be part of it till now. And it's up to us to ensure that that groaning, the childbirth comes to pass. And as stewards of God's creation, we have a divine responsibility to protect and preserve the environment for future generations. There are other quotations that we can use. The earth is the Lord's and all that is in it. All those things are things that tell us that it's important for us to take care of the creation that we are in. And something that Papa Joy says is that when God created man, he put us in a garden in Genesis. And in Revelation, when he comes, he will put us in another garden. So we start in a garden and we end in a garden. So in between, what are we doing with the garden? By the time God comes, the garden will be finished. It will become bidie, charcoal. And as those of us who are stewards or the mouthpieces of stewards, the church that is seen to be spearheading things, changing things, 200 years old, we need to take a stand. So this, as far back as 1922, Ebusiafo, our own church in Chebi said that we have to always celebrate Arbor Day. Please, those of us who went to Presby schools, do we remember Arbor Day? Has anybody celebrated Arbor Day before?